I'm here today with instructors from the healthcare area of emphasis in the IMC master's program at West Virginia University, Kristen Meeks and Christy Hansen-Anka. Good afternoon, y'all.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So I appreciate you taking time. What I want to do today is talk a little bit about the healthcare area of emphasis, and it's also available as a grad certificate, and get some information about the courses that you both teach within the program. So to kick us off, if you could each just take a couple of minutes to share an overview of your professional background and career to date. You can pick who goes first.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Meeks. I'm actually a graduate of the IMC program from '07 and began teaching, I think about 6 years ago, because I have been a practitioner of IMC for probably about the last 15 years. My background started in higher education and kind of moved into my own business of helping small businesses, marketing directors, nonprofits with their digital marketing, and most importantly, their content marketing, which is what I get to do every single day. And that is the course I teach for the IMC program, and really enjoy teaching and learning from the students and kind of taking each client that they have and expanding their knowledge on that.
Great. And I'm Christy Hansen-Anka, and I have been in healthcare marketing for over 20 years. I'm a graduate of the IMC program in 2015. And I started teaching, I think, in 2016. And my focus has, for as long as I can remember, been healthcare marketing. And I help clients such as pharmaceuticals, medical device manufacturers, any therapeutics or diagnostics. I help them bring their products to market. Educating clinicians, educating hospital systems, educating patients on their value and benefits and why they should pay attention to their disease state and ultimately get treatment. So it's a very, very fulfilling career. It's very exciting to learn all about new technology all the time. And I am kind of a geek when it comes to new technology, whether it be the devices and diagnostics and treatments and things that my clients are bringing to market, or the way in which we communicate with our target audiences. And so the course that I teach is the AR and VR, which is augmented reality, virtual reality in IMC. And the reason it's in the healthcare cohort, I mean, it's available to anyone as an elective, but it's specifically in the healthcare cohort because we try to understand what are these diseases, what are the different therapies and how do they work? And then also, how do we create empathy and awareness and community within our groups that we're trying to target? So this is a very powerful technology, a very immersive way in kind of goes outside the box of desktops and screens and really brings that experience to life in a new very visceral way. And so that's the course that I teach.
That's great. So thinking back to both of your courses, so Christy, ARVR and IMC, and Kristen, the content marketing course, what are the top 3 takeaways that you are hoping students will get from each of your courses?
I guess I'll go first. Well, one of the things that we really strive to talk about in our course is, one, the difference between these technologies, because you can really differentiate yourself by knowing what the power of these are and the different technologies that are available and what are the barriers to accessing those. So augmented reality sometimes works on your phone. Other times you're using a desktop with a camera to activate an augmented reality experience that has a very easier accessibility than something like a virtual reality experience, which is used with a headset. Now, things are starting to become where a lot of people are starting to have these different technologies available, but it still is not, it's not widely available, widely accessible. So how do you, as a marketer, employ these things? How do you give access to people who need to experience it? And then ultimately, how do you integrate that into your other content, your other marketing, and not make it just a one-off, like a parlor trick or some kind of one-off that clients don't want to pay for if they're not seeing results in the long run. So that's some of the things that we talk about, that it's not just cool technology. It's like, how can you actually ground it in fundamental marketing practices?
Great. And in my course, probably the biggest thing that I talk about and that we've seen so much in healthcare, the need for in the last couple of years, is just being strategic about what you put out there. I think a lot of times, if you're not doing this every single day, you think, and you look at brands and look at different healthcare systems, you think they're just throwing things up and waiting for something to stick. And that's definitely not the case that's happening. We're learning to be more strategic. We're setting goals, like measurable objectives, which is definitely something that will set our students apart. I've sat on many hiring committees for marketing directors and assistants. And if people start talking in terms of objectives and measurables, then my ears perk up, because I know exactly that what they're going to start utilizing and campaigns they're going to run. They know the importance of measuring those campaigns, and so are their employees going to as well. And then really how to distribute and how to implement. So you may create this great piece and content marketing. A lot of times, we get these really creative, beautiful graphics, and then, they're not really sure how to use them and why they should be used different places and how to reuse them. So we talk all about that stuff. And I think that's just so important, especially as you're interviewing in the healthcare community moving forward, but also just if you're already working in healthcare, learning how to be more strategic with your content marketing is going to really set you apart.
So it's a great segue into my next question. So why do you both think it's so important to differentiate yourself as a marketing communications professional?
I can start on that one. It's definitely, we have seen in the last, at least the last couple of years, I've seen it, you really have to show your worth. You have to show that your marketing is working and is measurable. And so in the whole cohort, but especially in my course, I feel like I give them tangibles that they can take back, that they can show growth, and they can show, maybe just what they put together and the content that they are distributing that definitely looks, steps ahead of, the next person interviewing. A lot of times, a question I get after this course is over from a student, they'll email me and they'll say, I have all this tangible items now. What's the best way to showcase this? So we talk a lot about like online portfolios, even after the fact, because a lot of the stuff that we do in IMC can really translate over and help, with career moves in the future.
And for me, I think that, getting an IMC degree, it really does give you a lot of foundational, strong, strategic guidance that you can implement to where you're working currently and you want to get a leg up, or, you're just going for a whole new position. When I went through the program, I was already a vice president of marketing. So did I need the IMC degree? Well, me personally, I felt I did, because my undergrad was graphic design and I kind of learned some stuff here and there. But like Kristen was saying, a lot of times, even the people you're working with aren't as sophisticated in their marketing as you would hope somebody would be. And I just felt like I really wanted to level up for my own personal benefit, but also really have a strategic understanding of what really makes a good objective. How do we measure against our objectives? Where is kind of the waste being happening, And so when I got my degree, I was really excited that all of the courses really focused on very strong fundamental examples of that, but also let you explore how you could create within that environment. So having those, sort of mini case studies that you've created yourself to kind of show or use as examples. I mean, I still pull work that I did from my IMC days to say, what were we talking about then? And that was a good idea, and implement it into current life. As far as my course, we do that as well. Like, it's not a tech course, we're not programming in this course. We're really talking about the strategic application and sometimes creative application of AR and VR when it comes to marketing. And for healthcare specific, we are looking at ways to really evoke empathy and have a better understanding of disease and better understanding of the different therapies or treatments that are out there. And sometimes you need to dive into the body through a virtual reality experience, or put yourself in the position of somebody dealing with a skin condition or some other kind of condition. And so I think when you have a degree like IMC and you've taken these courses in the healthcare cohort, you're going to be able to really have a seat at the table and a voice, and something that kind of comes from experience. Even if you haven't, personally, professionally had that experience, you'll be able to really be able to talk the talk and walk the walk, because you'll know how to execute.
Great. So what kind of jobs do you think are in this particular industry vertical? What kind of jobs do you think our graduates will be competing for, or even what kind of jobs are coming down the pike in a changing world where, COVID sort of rewrote the script for us?
So from my experience, so I work with a lot of agencies. So on the agency side, these are healthcare agencies. You're seeing a lot of agencies, even if they were more consumer agencies, they're starting to branch out and have a healthcare division or a healthcare specific agency. I mean, there's a lot of healthcare specific agencies, but a lot of big agencies are starting to have these little healthcare focuses. And when you're hiring, I've been on that side of it, hiring for healthcare, it is hard sometimes to find people that have that expertise. There's a lot of nuance in healthcare. There's a lot of rules and regulation. And so they want you to know how to be very creative, but working within a highly regulated environment. And that's what agencies are looking for. And so things that you would come in to do perhaps would be on the strategic side. So doing the planning or the different market planning, market planning for the different clients, or maybe it's on research. So maybe you're doing the ethnographies or interviewing doctors, or trying to get a set of target audience, patient or clinician or caregiver. You might be coming in and working on the digital side, so maybe more execution of digital strategies or media planning, or understanding where you could help with social media and that type of stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities where you're using some of your creativity to be account leads, or on the more strategic, working like that hybrid between account team and creative team, where you're actually guiding some of that work.
And this works perfectly with what I do, because I'm usually working with the hospitals, the clinics, doctors' offices, and the folks in there. And so what I'm seeing, and I probably just in the last week got a couple different messages seeing if I knew anybody, but we're seeing like digital marketing specialist jobs. We're seeing content creator jobs, which I think is really great. Anytime I see that, I'm like, yes, big check mark. But you were seeing it at different levels, which I think is interesting, and it's really evolved. I remember when I started my business, I would say within the last 10, 12 years, I was approached by one of these bigger hospitals to become like an outsourced consultant and totally do all the digital marketing. We are now seeing that is now internal, which, I mean, you think for somebody like me, we wouldn't like that, but honestly, that's kind of my goal. Overall goal is to help create more marketing jobs, especially digital marketing jobs, because that is the ultimate goal, is to get those people inside your organization to, help. And then people like myself and Christy, we can come in and consult and push you all in the right direction, but to get those people in there. So that's been really nice to see that change. So I'm seeing everything from marketing assistants to social media managers, just thinking of the students that I've known go through this program, some are directors of marketing now, digital marketing specialists for healthcare, and at different, like I said, at different levels. They're not always just at the hospital. There's some clinics that, have multi-county that I work with, that they'll have like a marketing director and maybe a graphic designer and an assistant. And even some of the doctor's offices are saying, do we really need an office manager, or do we need a marketing person? And so that's been really a nice change in the last several years too. So I think that's going to just continue to grow in that internal setting, which is really nice.
I think that's a really good point, Kristen. I'm just going to jump in because the practices themselves, if you think about a practice, and usually it's a lead doctor that decided to go and have his own practice. So he'll have an office administrator, a practice administrator, and their role is to market that practice. And it is, the agencies sometimes help, but really I'm thinking that that working with patients and within the practice is where a lot of these jobs are going to be for marketers.
And that's why I think the IMC program is so great. It really sets you up for so many different avenues. I always say, marketing and communication can be very separate, but it needs to be the same. And then I was just saying this morning, there's like this nice little gray line of customer service too. So those people are really working, on both sides, with the agencies, but also with the patients. So they know exactly, what needs to be done and what those patients' needs are. And so I think it's a really unique opportunity that our students have to kind of fill that void that's maybe not happening or hasn't happened in the past, that now, depending, who knows why, technology is a big one, just the climate in the last couple of years has been a big one, but it's happening now that is turning internally.
Great. So I just have to ask, what do you think, and this can be, sort of on the academic side, but also just on the personality side, what does it take to be successful in a career in marketing communications for healthcare? What are the kind of attributes that you think folks should have, or people that have these attributes should look for this kind of career?
Well, I definitely think flexibility, willing to change and adapt. And, people had said that to me, well, you seem to be, still, moving along and, still full steam ahead. And I said, well, I think I've just always been in an environment where things are always changing. I know Christy has a lot more experience in technology than I do, but just at the level I'm at, and even in the course itself, we talk about the future of content marketing. And there's always an article that is put out every year. And it's like, what does the next year look like in terms of what technology is going to help us as marketers? And it's always so cool to see what is up and coming, because those technologies that were, introduced 5 years ago, it's second nature to use them now. And so to me, that kind of stuff, just being willing to adapt to technology, one of the things that we deal with, even though I said, oh, there's lots of different jobs and stuff, a lot of times that doctor's office just has one person, or the marketing director, they may just have one person as social media. So a lot of us are, one man, one woman bands. And so we need technology. And that's what I think is really great, that we don't ignore that at all. We don't say it's just strategy. We realize in IMC that it takes a lot of different moving pieces to get that essentially piece of content out there to the right person, and for that organization to see a return on that. So I think that's really where, if you can be flexible and open to technology, that this is definitely a good career choice for you.
Yeah, and I would agree. I was going to say agile. You need to be a little agile. You need to be constantly learning. And I think that's, one of the benefits of the IMC program. I think by nature, especially working on the manufacturer side or the pharmaceutical side, you have to have that inquisitive nature. You're always in your own sort of R&D. You're always thrown into a new disease state or a new product or some kind of situation that you have to get up to speed pretty quick in order to really understand, and then be able to actually create a strategy around a certain product, where that nuance of that product may be very small, and you may not understand it because you're not a doctor and you're not going to understand that specialty, but you kind of have to get up to speed really quick. So being able to do your own research, being almost like a self-starter. We used to talk about healthcare marketers are sort of their own mini entrepreneur. They're just go. They want to learn. And the ultimate benefit is really that you're helping patients. You're helping ease somebody's life, right? You're trying to, we like to say sometimes we're saving lives, but even beyond that, just, you're just having a good experience with, educating a patient on something that they could be doing better, or that they could be living, a longer, more fruitful life. And that goes, you're helping doctors understand even, what the product does, but also how do you explain the product to your patient? How do you empathize with a patient? How do you get them to do the aftercare, like continue that journey of care. And so a lot of it is the same fundamental marketing practices you would do in any industry, but with healthcare, it just becomes so much more meaningful, and you have to be agile because there are rules, FDA changes or comes out with guidance, all the time that might change stuff. There's new rules, new regulations. So you might have to change. And then the clients themselves are under a lot of pressure from their groups to, make sure they're getting awareness and exposure and all of that, sells, the sales. But I think it's a really fun environment to work with. And healthcare wasn't always like that. It was always sort of the place you didn't want to go because they weren't up with cool new technology and stuff, but that's changed. It's really on the forefront now of some of the technology and stuff. And that comes from changes in healthcare system, changes in the way we consume healthcare, and changes in the expectations out of healthcare.
Great. So last question really is related to an upcoming program that WVU is releasing for spring. Starting in spring of 2022, we'll be offering a specialized cohort in IMC with the healthcare marketing specialization. And this group will work together throughout their entire master's degree, focused on the healthcare industry. Just in sort of closing this, what's been a really vibrant conversation, what are your what are your thoughts about healthcare marketing into the future, and what kind of sort of prognosis do you have in terms of where it's going, and what kind of opportunities there will be in the future for folks that have this skill set?
I don't know who's supposed to go first. I can go first. I do think there's going to be growth, and I think we've seen the growth already. And so I think it's just going to continue to grow, continue to be a necessity. If you kind of watch, I always kind of, have my ear to the ground, looking and seeing what my local, healthcare places are doing, and how they're changing. They're telling stories now. They're worrying about their brands now. And I don't think we saw that. I mean, when I was going through the IMC program, I definitely never used healthcare as an example, but now I probably use it every day in class to talk, oh, well, this is what I saw this person do, and this is something similar you can do. I think we're really seeing that shift. They're seeing the benefits of having more of an integrated marketing approach to increase their reach and their brand.
Yeah, and I think that, for the past few years, we've been talking about the aging population. So people are living longer, and, and ultimately they are, there's different diseases that come up. There's a lot of target audiences out there for some of these healthcare brands. And I think that, like Kristen said, even the hospital systems are starting to realize, these patients have a choice where they're going. They can come to us because we've established this great brand in our community, or they can go to the competitor down the street, And so I think that healthcare is not going away, and actually people are going to become more engaged with their own healthcare, as different regulations change and people age. And so I think that the opportunities are absolutely there. I mean, I don't want to say it's job security, but I mean, COVID, we ramped up, we didn't slow down. Some elective surgeries slowed down, but everybody else just ramped up their digital spend, wrapped up the things they wanted to do because, suddenly they couldn't go into hospitals and talk, their reps couldn't talk to doctors. So marketing had to take a bigger role. And that is what we saw. And so those things that were implemented, the clients really saw were effective and actually worked better. So they want to keep it going. And that's just creating, and it kind of goes to Kristen's, class, creating content. It's having those experts that are in the field talk about different products, talk about different techniques, talk about the needs for different types of therapy, and put out those videos and podcasts and all that type of stuff. And so somebody needs to create strategies for that. Somebody needs to, develop that plan, and what are the objectives for that, and how are we going to engage with people? And so that's where the marketer comes in. And if you have an integrated marketing mindset, then you're going to go really far, because you'll be able to prove the value of the tactics that you deploy.
Well, great. Thanks so much to both of you for sharing your insights and passion for what you do. It's always a pleasure. So thank you much.